Hey everyone, Krazyed here, and we've gotten a lot of information over the last couple days about Path of Exile Atlas of Worlds 2.4, the next patch coming out. So I just wanted to make a video kind of recapping everything we know, and this is just going to be a high-level overview talking about all the information we've gathered so far. So at this point, we know that we're going to hear more from Chris as of Friday, 5 days. We just got that announcement on Reddit a little while ago, and we know that there's going to be a rework of the endgame. We've gotten a teaser of, well, we've got 3 items that we definitely know of. We've got Ziggy D's belt plus this new armor they've shown us a picture of, and we also know that there's some adjustments coming to some skills. So let's start with the items. We know pretty much exactly what the 2 rings plus this 2-hand sword do. The Praxis Paul ring I think is the most interesting. Not the best, but the most interesting, and of the things that they've shown us so far. It's a Paul ring, so it has a plus to mana base, or implicit. It gives you another maximum mana roll. It gives you about 5.3 mana regen per second. That's probably going to be variable, I would think, but it's in the range of a level 3 clarity. So if you're not running clarity as an aura, then you get a free low level clarity with this. It also has -4 mana cost to skills. This might also be a variable roll, but right now it looks like a bad L run. If they give it, if it goes from 4 to 6, I think that would be good, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just kept it at 4. And then it also has the really uncommon roll of damage taken gained as mana when hit. Now, this does counter mind over matter, so when you're hit, mind over matter takes 30% of your damage, goes towards mana. Well, this gains that mana back, so you actually just take 8% less damage when you have the mind over matter keystone or Cloak of Defiance equipped. And if that's a set value, I think that'd be awesome. It's also worthy to note that you could corrupt this and get an additional % of damage taken gained as mana when hit as an implicit. It goes maybe up to 4%, so that's a chunk. That's 12% on 1 ring. So if you're, you can probably do a lot of theory crafting around this and see how far you can take that plus to mana. And mana's been really underwhelming for a while now. The next ring is Valerium that they've shown us, and Vitacola has come out and said this is his ring, and it was pretty much designed specifically to take the place of Ayachalua as a stun immunity, which is really nice. It does the job. I think it could give, it gives you some resistances, unlike Ayachalua. It does give you -40 cold resistance, but hey. And stun is based off of energy shield. There is also Skyforth out there, but this is probably going to be another much cheaper option, kind of like the Eye of Chalua, rather than Skyforth. For most players, this is going to be the other go-to. If you have an amulet that can pick up more stats, or it's going to be better overall, then this is that other option. You don't necessarily have to run the Eye. I think a lot of players, when you get that +1 curse Eye, though, that's going to be your go-to amulet versus getting this ring. Lastly, we have Kondo's Pride. Of the 3 on this post, this is, I think, the most underwhelming of all the uniques that they showed us. They say they want to straddle the line of crit and not crit, which I get, and it's actually it can be kind of hard to cap your crit with a 2-hander. That's 2-hand crit is not a thing for the most part. We did see some juggernauts that went 2-hand crit, with cast on crit, and Triperian with talisman, but that's about it. And cannot leech life from critical strikes, and increased melee damage against bleeding enemies, causes bleeding on melee critical strike. Right now you could just equip a Void Heart. Well, I don't know if Void Heart's going to go away, but there's plenty of ways to get bleeding on attacks. And the increased accuracy rating is pretty underwhelming. I will say that. For something, I would have liked to see this on a Exquisite Blade with the 60% crit multi, then I would have been a little bit more impressed, but the accuracy rating, don't really care for it. And lastly, we have this armor. We don't know what that is, but it looks pretty cool. Maybe that's a Templar in there, in that armor, and you just can't see his beard? I don't know. Or some other NPC. Who knows? It's definitely not a Marauder. And we also have Ziggy's belt. And with Ziggy's belt, they've announced a couple things. We know that there are going to be some new belt implicits. I would assume that there's going to be more than just this one. And we don't know, and Rory, I don't think, said where the range of this armor and evasion rating is going to fall. So maybe 305 is on the high end, maybe it goes up to like 350 each, or maybe they'll say it's 200 to 250 to 300 or something like that for both armor and evasion. But they did say that they're going to make a new series of top tier belts that are going to have a very high level requirement, and that this is going to be one of those bases, is armor and evasion. Now, if they do tack it up to like, the 300, 350, 400 as the top end for the base of these, or the implicit rolls on these, I mean, you can roll up to 400 armor on a belt. So if you can have, that's 700 armor on a belt with just this 705 armor, if you get some good armor rolls. And a lot of people might not even have 700-800 armor on their chest piece, or their shield for that matter. So you can really stack a lot in here. And of course, the thing that everyone's talking about is 1% increased damage for 400 armor and evasion. Note that this is attack damage right now, and not just melee damage. And then 15% chance to gain Fortify on melee stuns, so you don't necessarily need a Fortify gem anywhere in your setup. And you have Onslaught while you have Fortify, which is sweet. So I think that's going to be a really sought after item, really popular. I know I'll probably be looking for one just to pick it up and have one in my arsenal of toys. Now, with that, both Chris and Rory have said they really wanted to open up the in-game content, and Yoji and Ziggy have gotten some stones, and they've posted videos of these, and that's something that GGG's done in the past as well. What I'd really like to see, and this is just complete speculation, is, Ziggy showed in his video where there was a temporal chains sign, I think, on the side. So maybe like a map mod where you have temp chains. I'd kind of like to see where you can, you can already corrupt a map and it gets aid mods. I'd like to see where you could, put multiple maps in and it adds all the mods put together, but it also adds all the bonuses. So if you can, put 4 maps in there, and one has temp chains, one has LE weakness, one has double boss, and one has, I don't know, no mana regen or blood magic, you're all of a sudden you're running a 50, 60, 70% pack size map with 300 quantity, and there's all sorts of shit on the ground, but man, that map is going to be hard. It's like your build can run red maps. That's cute. Like, can it run a quad red map? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, and if they made it into like a dungeon scenario, maybe where they took the lowest tier map and then plus, well, every tier map, and then made them the same tier, and you went through it like a 4-layer dungeon where you had to complete one map, then another, then another, then another, and you fought some bigger boss at the end. I think that would be sweet. If you could take it'd give you a reason to run your low-level maps and not leave them on the ground, or toss them, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they want you to find, kind of like the Uber Lab keys, where you have trials inside of maps. Maybe you find one of these tokens in a map, or you can buy it from Zana, and then you have to find a rare map with that mod on it, and then input it into the device, and then beat a special boss or something like that, and it unlocks over these new worlds, or this new in-game content. But GGG has been doing stuff with the map device for a long time now. First we had Itziri and Uber Itziri, then we had Rigwald and the Vinctor Square, we had the Council most recently. So they've been doing stuff with the map device for a while now, and throwing more stuff into the map device. and adding bosses and new in-game challenges is kind of nice, but I think they're going to take it to the next level. It's not going to be like like a Victor Square or a Rigwalds or anything else. I think they're really going to take it kind of like Exile was for the first time, where no one beat Exile when corrupted areas came in for a while, and then it was even longer before someone finally beat Uber Exile. Like, learning that fight took a lot of the best players a long time to do, and it's something that a lot of the in-game people and the people that were used to kind of doing everything, it took them a while to learn it, and now we've gotten to the point where almost anyone can do Exile. Heck, Project PT did Uber Exile with solo self-found gear. Granted, he has a lot of playtime on that character. I think it's level 97, but hey, he did it solo self-found, so grats to him, by the way. Now, the last thing that we've actually known about, the longest that's coming from 2.4, I think, is the cast on critical strike nerf. Now, they've already nerfed it once in the past, and they increased the cooldown time, I should say. I got a feeling they're going to do something like this again, because Chris said in his forum post when he teased cast on crit, he said the problem with discharge, which is a very commonly used spell, isn't discharge. When you cast one discharge, it's fine. It's when you're casting 20 discharges a second. That's when it becomes a problem for everyone, because you're gaining power charges and expending them, and there's huge explosions 20 times a second. And when you have a Vol's Devotion on, it's discharge. It's back and forth constantly, just changing colors and giving people seizures, and computer seizures too. So I really think that it's gonna go the way of, they're gonna have to increase that, where it doesn't cast as often, so things like Quill Rain are gonna be out the gate. I mean, either that, or they'll put a limit on the number of a single spell you can cast at a time. So instead of having a cast on crit discharge, and maybe they'll do both, instead of cast on crit discharge, you'll have to run cast on crit with 4 spells in your setup, and you just can't cast another spell for a while. I don't know how that's going to play out. I know a lot of people love to play cast on crit, and every league they build their cast on crit build, and they go for their Vol's Devotion as soon as they can. Hey, I don't know and I think cast on crit's one of those things that it is its own build. It's not a build enabling thing. It is a build skill. Just like, you have an Incinerate build, you have a cast on critical strike build, but the thing is, it's support. And maybe that's where the problem really lies. Not that GG necessarily has a problem with it, but that it's a support that is its own skill. You're not a Cycloner, you're not an EKer, you're a Cycloner, you're a cast on crit build that uses Cyclone to cast EK, or Blade Vortex, or Discharge, or I use Barrage to proc cast on crit to cast Blade Fall. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's going to get a rework, so I think the value of Quill Rains are going to go down, and who knows, Vagan's Daggers are probably going to be, well, they definitely won't be a thing of the past. Vagan's Daggers are still going to be awesome, but maybe other Vagan's weapons are going to open up now too. Who knows? That's all I got. If you guys like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave comments. I'd really like to hear about what you guys think, and so if you want to hear more of this, let me know, and I'll see y'all out in Rayclast.